New and old, welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with your host, BaseDaKID Pugilistboy. We are the children of the game. Tony, how have you been?
I am knackered, my brother. I've just completed somewhere in the region of about another 10, 11 rounds. Hard work, bro. It's hard work, but I'm getting these kids ready for the new year. We had some great work in the gym this week. We had some boys from Repton, we had some boys from TKO, we had some boys from Islington. So you could tell we're mixing it with some really good gyms, and it's paying off. A lot of my boys are looking really sharp. We go out to a show on Thursday. So, yeah, I'm working hard, but
I hear you. Well, look, if you good luck to the boys. Obviously, if you give us the details, we can maybe rep that and see if any of the great defeaters will show up. If you need any extra hands in the gym to put them through their paces, you know where I'm at. I don't mind schooling these young whippersnappers, good stuff.
excellent, excellent.
Yes. So real quick, thank you everyone who's here. We were only a minute this time, so we're actually very good time today. Um I see Hot Pies in the chat. Salute to you, Jay Lanks and Dan the man, the hardest working guy on Twitter. I see you've been putting in a real shift over the last couple of days. We appreciate you. That looks like it's it for the moment, but oh wait, no, Jam Down 187 is here as well. Big up, Jam Down. And you guys, look, you guys got to appreciate us because we always happen to be doing this when football's on. And I don't know if you don't know, but both myself and Tony are quite big football fans. Like he may be more than me now. I did kind of drop off the side a little bit. I focus attention to boxing, but I'm
But
always
you're back in it now, boys. Your boys are back in it.
well, no, because that's the thing. I always support, but I just haven't had the chance to watch as many games as I used to. So I was like, okay, I'll just watch what I can watch. Because before I used to watch everything that was on Sky and BT, right? Now it's like if I have the chance, because the priorities taking over within both my household and just other things. But I'm trying to get back into it. But it always seems to be a nice juicy game on as we're doing the show. So I just want us to know that that's the level of sacrifice that we are putting in. Tony is rushing from training and sparring with his juniors just so we can do this. So like when we say we're dedicated and we're serious, like it's not a joke. That's pretty much all I'm trying to allude to there. But again, we appreciate every single person that watches live, every single person that watches on the replay, and yeah, pretty much we kind of keep it there. I've said my spiel. You got anything you want to add before we start night's proceedings?
No, that's good for me, my brother.
Okay, so first things first, have you got any of the new stuff loaded up yet?
Not yet. It's all
Okay.
coming.
That's fine. So what we can do then, seeing as it may have been arguably the most uneventful of the fights that happened over the weekend, and that I'm not saying that as in a disrespectful way, but just there wasn't a huge event. We can start with let me see if I can find it right here. Let's start with a Jagbar and Shaw. Um Now, seeing as you put together this lovely stuff here, I will let you lead on this particular one. All right.
Okay. So here we had Efe Ajagba versus Stephen Shaw. Now, not a lot of people would have known this, but Stephen Shaw actually came into this fight as the favorite. 18-0 record coming in against the highly touted 16-1 Efe Ajagba, who probably most people know more than Stephen Shaw. Now, Stephen Shaw fundamentally probably was the better boxer, but he just didn't do enough to win this fight. This was definitely a battle of jabs for me. And you're going to see a lot of that in these couple of clips that I've got. It seems to be that everything I seem to clip was literally a battle of jabs. Who's going to get their jab in? But what you'll notice with Ijagba is there's very little body movement when he starts throwing combinations. And That to me is a flaw in his game. A more mobile fighter will cause him a lot of trouble. But what he does do, he does well in that he's consistent with his jab. He scores and he scores and he scores. And I think to me, if Stephen Shaw had a little bit more ambition about trying to cause problems for Ajagba, he could have done better. But unfortunately, this was just a guy who came out, showed flashes of the fact that, you know what, I've got, you know, slip and move, I've got catch and counter, I've got fast hands, but just can't do it enough. And therefore, the harder working man beat probably the more talented boxer in the ring on the night. That was my assessment. What say you, sir?
Okay, so when I was doing my little breakdown of this fight initially, the one thing that I had reservations about was the weight that Stephen Shaw came in at. Now, he wasn't like super duper heavy, but he's not a natural 240-pounder. So to me, I felt like he needed to have about, you know, he's a 225, 230 type guy to me. You have to mute your mic. Yeah. So to me, that was how I kind of saw it. And one thing that I know, I thought to myself, when it comes to the back half of this, and at first I thought it was a 12 rounder. So I thought, well, he's gonna have to win all the early rounds and then try and coast or walk a Jagba onto something, because he does have quite a decent right hand, and he's also got a decent left uppercut as well. It's a little short one. It's a sneaky one, but I've seen it in fights before. It's pretty effective. Now, one thing that I actually different to you, I actually thought that it was that for the majority of especially the early half of this fight, Stephen Shaw was winning. He Everything that he was getting hit with, quote unquote, wasn't actually landing. He was doing quite well at parrying, blocking, and moving his head in the first half of the fight. His jab was snapping Ajagba's head back quite reticently. He didn't. His footwork, his movement was offsetting Ajagba, so he wasn't able to necessarily throw anything hard straight down the middle. And I think Ajagba was scared to throw that backhand because of what happened in the Frank Sanchez fight, realizing that when he loads up, it leaves him vulnerable. I don't think he ever really wants to be down on the floor again. So yeah, the first half of the fight, I thought Stephen Shaw was doing the better work. I think when I was watching it initially, I think I scored it. It was 3-2 to Shaw in the first 5, and I think I had it 6-6 after 3-3, sorry, after 6 rounds. But then admittedly, I started to fall asleep after that, so the scoring of the fight wasn't really it couldn't really sustain the scoring. But what I was able to do is kind of just see the general flow of how the rounds were going. And it looked at that point, yeah, like Ajagba was just doing a lot more, but Shaw was looking for those counters, just hoping that maybe one of them's going to land and just change the tide. And, you know, that while Ajagba's not an elite boxer, but at those higher levels, you can't really just rely on those game plans, especially when it's only a 10 round. If it was a 12 rounder, maybe you might have been able to get away with it because Ajagba will be pushing the action more, and maybe he drain his gas tank down enough. And Shaw's defense was very good throughout the whole night, so he was very defensively responsible, stopping most of the worst of Ajagba's work coming through and causing any significant damage. So there's definitely a way back for him. I definitely do think Ajagba took more of the second half of the fight, but I'd have to watch it back again to properly determine what I scored it. But I do definitely think for the first half, at least sort of the first 5 to 6 rounds, sure, even if he wasn't winning all of them, I feel like he was the more comfortable in there. Almost like at that point, you're ready to push on and take the victory. I predicted that he would win the fight. Obviously, seeing the two of them fight before, the skills was just there. The one concern I did have throughout the majority of the fight is he kept circling to his left-hand side, which was basically putting him constantly in line with a Jagba's power hand. And I don't know if that was a tactic they was employing, hoping that he would shoot it so they could maybe catch and counter or slip and counter. I don't know, because it never happened enough in the fight. There's no way to really tell. But that was just one thing I was like, the whole point is to stay away from the backhand, not to move towards it. So that's just something I sort of observed, and maybe in his next fight, if he does it again and someone goes for that backhand and then he slips that, hits him with that big shot, then okay, at that point it makes sense what he was trying to lure him into. But yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on it. It wasn't a great fight in terms of action or even sort of technical nous, but it was definitely, you know, a battle for superiority of position. And you know, they say that, you know, a good right hand will take you around the block, but a good jab takes you around the world. Well, they demonstrated that this is how you get to the next level, by being able to be dominant with the lead hand. So yeah, that's kind of how I saw it. I mean, any rebuttal to that?
No, that is pretty much bang on. So yes, we can move on.
All
Any
right.
comments on that fight? Not a jot. I don't think a lot of people would have really been in tune for that one. And as you said, it didn't set the world on fire. So let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, just want to say a big shout out to Jade Francis in the building. I think we already done. Oh no, we haven't done Uncle Jonah. So peace
Big
out.
up.
And I see Jam Down saying, I swear I used to see Tony on AFTV videos behind Claude screaming and get out.
You never, ever, ever, ever saw me in one of them videos. You might have seen all four of them characters from AFTV on my channel, but you've never seen me on their channel. There's an interesting scenario. I've had all of them on my channel, you know, from Troops and DT, all of them, Robbie, but they've never had me on their channel.
Okay, interesting stuff. All right, so since you've just uploaded, let's go to the other the Shushu or the Nova. Now I was watching, I'm actually kind of half watching Nova and Lopez now. I saw about the first 5 rounds before we went live, so I can give a little bit, but seeing as you've took the clips, I'm assuming you've seen more of it than I have, so go ahead.
Okay. So where we going, Nova? So we got Abraham Nova with his distinctive beard, and Blue Nose Lopez, 16-3. This was an interesting matchup because both guys, to me, have had decent outings in 2022. They both had very good years. And to see that they were matched up very early in 2023 was very much a surprise, but also very refreshing to know that, you know what, I'm glad to see that two guys at this stage in their career are willing to take a fight. As you can see, there was a knockdown from Nova on Blue Nose. It was a beautiful shot. And you know that if you know anything about Abraham Nova, he has a very languid style. He's very strong in the upper body. He's got very good in between punches. You know, he's a very good boxer at picking shots and finding, you know, shots in between people's punches. And he did just that. You know, look at those lovely shots in between Blue Nose's guard, the overhand rights coming in. Boom. Oh, just missed it. But yeah, you know, it's a good performance. But as you can see by that still, you know, Blue Nose did continue to cause trouble in this fight. But overall, I thought that the language style, you know, the length of punches from Abraham Nova, to me, made this more of a dominant win for him. He used his boxing beautifully. You know, it's not elite. It's not something that you're going to go, oh, this is the next big thing, because, you know, look, these are contenders. These are what you could call legitimate contenders. Are they elite? No. These can't be put in a bracket with, say, a Boots Ennis, who's more than just a contender. These guys are middle of the road, but they're good contenders. They'll give anybody a hard night's work, but I wouldn't expect them to win world titles. And for that, given what you got there, that was a decent fight on an undercard. You know, when you consider where it was placed in the card, you know, that was a decent fight. The fact that it goes a distance, it provided a good level of entertainment for everybody. I don't know about you, but I totally enjoyed the action where, you know, these guys didn't hang around trying to, you know, look pretty. They went in. And if you haven't seen it, it was a worthwhile little scrap.
Yeah, I'm actually just watching the last round now while we're speaking. And I can definitely see what you were saying about Abraham Nova. Now, I think I've only seen one or two of his fights previously. But yes, one thing I will agree with you, having looked at what I'm kind of seeing now, he almost gives me, and this might be a bit sacrilegious, so people don't kill me in the comments, but almost like a little version of Chocolatito, just in the way he moves forward, the way he sort of he shoots off the movement. He doesn't try to plant his feet. Every time he throws a shot, he's moving forward into range to try and get his to try and stay on his opponent's chest and stay close to him. And that's what I kind of see as the reason how he was able to basically dominate in the middle rounds in the fight. For the first couple of rounds, when it was more of a jabbing and more of a boxing match, I saw Lopez doing a lot of the better work and catching Nova more in between his shot. Like he seemed like his speed was getting to Nova, but then Nova managed to start timing him a lot better. And again, just being loose and languid on the inside, rolling with those shots while he's moving forward, just seemed to offset Lopez. And that's kind of how I saw him basically, picking up the rounds. And obviously, with even in sort of a lot of the rounds being competitive and close, the fact that he was able to rock Lopez on several occasions definitely is what swung them in his favor. Plus the two knockdowns that did occur. I think one was in the fourth round, and then the other was in the sixth, I believe, or it was the third, something like that. But again, I didn't watch it wholeheartedly, so I can't give a full breakdown on this one, people. I do apologize, but that is kind of what I saw. One person had the speed advantage, but the other person definitely just had not so much, it was timing, but it was also just being unorthodox, loose, and moving fluidly, from one shot to the next in line with the footwork, which just kept him in range and kept him on Lopez's chest, which just made Lopez have to work when you don't want to work. And you could clearly see that was starting to take its toll towards the later rounds when he started to fade a little bit, just because he couldn't take the breaks when he wanted to. So yeah, that's sort of my take on that fight. It was enjoyable. I will be watching it after we finish the broadcast. I'll be watching it properly on the big screen as well, where I can properly sort of analyze it. But from the little information I did see, that's kind of my stance on it.
Cool.
No.
Have we got any comments? Jam Down says, I missed the cards this weekend. Gone. So you guys keeping me updated is much appreciated. That's what we're here for, my brother. Thank you very much.
Right, now you put in Shushu Carrington. I didn't see any of this because I actually forgot to set my my skybox to record the event. Normally it records the whole series, but I forgot to do it this weekend. It was a long weekend. I had other things on my mind. So yeah, you're gonna have to take this one solo, and then in return I'm gonna take the next one solo, which you may not have seen too much of.
That's fine, my brother. That's fine. So the reason I put Shushu in is because I've seen great potential in this young protege. and I definitely think he's one to look out for in 2023. 6-0 with 3 KOs, boxing in the orthodox stance, the featherweight, fighting out of Brooklyn, New York. Let's get the action a little bit that I did get. You'll see from the little clip of action. The kid's got nice. He's got hops. He's nice. He's got again, much like I mentioned previously, he's got a nice language style. He picks shots nicely from a jab. He's a very smooth operator. And coming against Juan Antonio Lopez, who was 17-12-1 and won a 6-round decision. Look at the pivot off the front foot there. Using space wisely. He picked a lovely body shot there. Picking his shots nicely. Now, of course, at this level, it can look great. It's whether this is going to continue to improve and going to show itself at the higher level. But at this early stage in his career, I'm very much impressed. I like what I see. And I just think he's one of those that, a fun fighter to keep your eye on. He only fought a 6-rounder, so it's not like it's, pushing you too much to get 6 rounds in of action. But I see 2023, by the end of 2023, if he carries on at his current rate, he'll be fighting 10-rounders. He should be picking up the odd, outer region title, NABF, that type of thing. And then we'll see how he gets on in the featherweight division in 2024. I'd imagine maybe even a bit late 24, sorry, if it continues to impress, whether he can challenge some of the elite in the division.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I didn't see that particular one, but I'm never a proponent of people talking about on the eye test, right? But with Shushu Carrington, I make a slight exception. Now, this isn't to say that I truly believe that he'll be, the next big thing. But when you look at him actually box, even though the level of opponents necessarily aren't that great, what I look at in him is how basically where his fundamentals are at, and just basically what his skill set's saying. Like, does he get caught with silly shots from people that he shouldn't be getting caught with silly shots from? How does he hold his stance? Can he keep his construct through a barrage of shots from the opponent? Does his structure and his frame stay on point at all times? And just through this clip, you can clearly see his balance is perfect. That's the first thing. Balance is perfect. His movement is fluid and sharp. None of it's forced. And as you can see there, the 2 times he's had to slip shots, he's not even having to move his feet to slip them. It's all lateral upper body movement, and it's subtle changes in the movement. It's not like, oh, he's darting in and out, or it's like a big moment where he now has to, he has to reset, or he has to expend unnecessary energy just to dodge the shot. No, everything is subtle, everything is calm, composed. I've never seen him look flustered. I've never seen him look apprehensive. I've never seen him look like, oh, I just need to throw something to get you off of me. He's always calm. And that's the mark of a special fighter that has the potential to be something truly special, is how calm they can remain under pressure. And from what I've seen, he's definitely in that class. Probably was a bit bad that I didn't have him in my prospects of the year for 2022, but there was just some more standout performance. But he's one of those guys where he's going to go under the radar until he explodes. Like right now, you don't really know him, but he's just going to have that breakthrough fight, and you're going to be like, he's going to be like this overnight success that grafted for 3 years before he became an overnight success. That's kind of how I see his career going if he stays on the same trajectory. I just want more. I'm not saying he's not active enough. He's fine, but I would just like more activity. Almost give him a bit of that old school Mike Tyson diet, where and every 3-4 weeks, just if you got a show, just put him on the show, no matter where it is. Have him in the smaller, the 3-4, the 4 rounders, the 6 rounders, and then
Take him across the border to Mexico, throw him in with a couple of them, you know what I mean, taxi drivers, just to keep the rounds in.
Yeah, just to keep him active, to keep him sharp, and to keep him engaged. And then by the end of this year, he will be ready to be fighting for regional belts or like interim straps or international titles or whatever, because he would have had all those styles, he would have seen all those flavors, and he just would have had the rounds in the bank to go for it. Because the biggest the biggest hold up for a lot of these people is not having the rounds in the bank, not being active enough, so taking too long to get to that next level. If you fight often enough, you'll get to that level a lot quicker, because you're going to improve quicker because you have to. And that's kind of what I want to see with Shushu.
I agree 100%. Big up to our only
Yams in the building.
Yams in the building.
Right, so luckily, guys, look, there's going to be a fairly quick one-ish. I'm hoping that we've got a special guest appearing later, but that's on time.
No, unfortunately we don't. I've been trying all evening,
Okay.
so unfortunately I'm gonna have to let you down on that one.
Okay.
I was hoping he might have rung me by now to just let me know, but I've had nothing, so I'm missing in action, I'm afraid.
Maybe we can reschedule that for next week, which might be more pertinent, seeing as the week after is where it takes place. But we'll keep that under wraps, then, people. We won't mention that now. Again, I'm working on a few bits and pieces myself, which we will you'll be hearing about through Twitter, through the Undefeated Pod, and through Monday Night Smoke and other areas of that nature. So for the last one, right. So did you skim through any of the footage? That's fine if you didn't.
So I watched the early rounds of Vianello against Rice.
Okay.
So I didn't see past round 5.
That's fine. I mean, to be honest, it only lasted a round after that anyway, realistically. But I'll take it. I'll take it, and then you can just kind of give your sort of takes afterwards. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've got a bit of the cleared footage. I've actually checked to make sure this is fine to use. So this fight was very much Guido Vianello just basically trying to be on the front foot, trying to be busy, and sort of just land a big looping right hand on Rice. That's pretty much what he was trying to do all night. He was trying to hook off that jab, as you can see there, and he was just trying to basically jab his way into range, a bit like what you normally see Deontay Wilder do. But with Johnny Rice, one thing I noticed is, even though he was like 274 on the scales, and this is probably one of the best like conditions I've seen him in terms of like his body construct. It didn't look fleshy, didn't look overweight, with the sort of the barrel belly. His body just looks in sync. Obviously, as you can see, he's got very big, strong legs, so he's definitely able to generate his power there. He moves a little bit like old school James Toney. If you like, you see he's got a lot of good upper body movement. The way he sort of gets in and out of range and protects himself from shots. There's a lot of like sort of James Toney-esque type movements. He's very comfortable being in front of someone. Even there, like, even though he's shifting away, he's never sort of panicking. You can just sort of see him, gaining his trying to sort of measure distance, but he was letting the fight sort of almost get away from him, just because he was trying to counter Guido a lot rather than actually take it to him. I feel like if he had gone on the front foot, he probably would have been able to dominate, because Guido Vianello can't really do much going backwards. And there's a couple clips you're going to see where, when Rice does push him back, he's sort of a bit lost. But Rice was basically, for the first 2-3 rounds, he didn't do much, but he was trying to make Guido Vianello just like, it looked like he was trying to make him expend energy to hopefully then sort of step in and step on the gas a bit more, sort of between rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, if it was going to go there. Because when it came to sort of the end of round 4, up towards round 5, that's when he started to do a bit more work and started just trying to probe with the jab a bit more, try to use his body weight a little bit more just to, you know, to hold and push Guido Vianello back. And as you can see there, every time he had him push back, Guido was unable to throw anything. As you can see, Rice was always aiming for that. I'm gonna call it the shade jab, the jab where he's not actually trying to land it; it's just a distraction, and then to come over the top with the straight right. And as you're gonna see in a moment, which is you'll see in a second coming up here. Oh wait, no, it'll be the round just after this one. But yeah, you'll see it come up in a moment. He steps in, flashes with the jab, and then comes over with the big right hand, which splits open Guido Vianello's eye. Something fierce. And at that point, it was survival mode for Guido. And yeah, he tried to battle on valiantly, but the fight ended up being stopped after that. And it ended up with a Johnny Rice TKO victory. And since he is a friend of the channel, we support that highly. And I predicted he was going to knock out Guido Vianello. So that was the one I got right this weekend. And everything was right. Method, even though technically it was a TKO doctor stoppage, it's still a knockout. My prediction held up. You're on mute.
Fight fan Danny says, I'm so glad they used boxing's VAR, so Rice got his TKO win rather than it being a technical decision. Because originally it was judged a headbutt, but upon replay, which they used, that was a classic case of them using technology in the correct way and it bringing out the correct decision. So yeah, we're well happy to see that.
Now, a lot of people have basically said like the ref was trying to screw him, ref was on the take and everything. I'm not saying that's not the case, but I am going to give the ref the benefit of the doubt for the simple fact of obviously he saw that punch land, but prior to that and after that, Guido Vianello's left eye was outside of the ref's line of vision. So he didn't see that it was cut. And there was a couple times before that and even after where they've basically come together in a clinch and the heads have gotten a little close. And so there is a possibility that the ref has seen that one time and then seen the eye and made that, and that was the assumption. So I'm not saying that he wasn't trying to be corrupt and he ultimately got caught. I'm just saying because I did see that throughout the rounds watching the fight, I can potentially understand why he thought that was the call. So just to try and not make it a complete conspiracy theory. I'm giving him that little bit of leeway just in case. But as Danny said, the right man won in the correct fashion, and yes, we applaud the correct use of VAR in boxing.
Excellent. As far as the fight was concerned, I sadly was not too impressed by Johnny Rice. Yes, he gets the victory, but unfortunately for me, I think Guido made him work in ways that he just looked uncomfortable for a majority of those early rounds. Yes, he got his shots in, but in terms of ring generalship, I think Guido was actually commanding more of the rounds than he was. Guido worked harder, threw more punches. And what I liked with Guido was he was throwing punches moving forward. So he was throwing punches and then not taking a step back, but continuing to move forward. Something that I tried to teach to my kids, the importance of staying on the front foot and not going backwards for the sake of, positioning. If you're on the front foot, stay on the front foot. If the guy's in the corner, leave him in the corner. Don't think I have to walk out and let him get out the corner. Just keep him there. Stay there. Just keep battering. Go in, come out, step out, but don't step out of range. Step out, see what he does. Go back in, step there. Wait. You know, he's gonna eventually come out with a barrage, or he's gonna run round the outside. Yeah, and at that point, be prepared to check him with a hook if he goes left or whatever, and then think again what we're gonna do. But I like to do this thing. I don't know if you remember Rocky 3, where Clubber Lang throws is it Rocky back into the corner.
Yeah.
So I like to do that with my kids. Like, I like to close them into a corner and then let them see, where are you going now? You're either going to come straight at me, which I'm ready for, or you're going to kind of chicken out the side. And if you try to chicken out the side, I'm grabbing you and throwing you back in the corner. And that's my way of showing, keep your guy in the corner. If you get him there, don't let him just get away easy. Hurt him. But yeah, Vianella, just, for me, was that bit busier, that little bit busier in between punches as well. And Johnny Rice gets away with one. He has to do better going forward if he wants to be relevant in this division.
Well, I agree. I mean, he definitely, it was I'm not gonna say it was a gift decision, because ultimately you caused the cut, like, so you deserve the victory. But he looked to me pretty much like he wasn't interested in boxing him. I think he really was. He was setting him up. He kind of, because they've been sparring partners they've done, from what I've heard, they've done like 30-40 rounds together. So he knows Guido very well. So in my opinion, he was looking at it in the sense that I've got something for you at some point in this fight. I don't need to fight you. I just need to make you work, do what you're doing, and I'm gonna get to you eventually. Or could have languished to a points decision loss. Because obviously he looks at things these days like, well, I'm making money. Like, I want to get these victories just so I can get to that bigger payday. But with 6 losses on the record, he's not looking at himself like, oh, I'm going to be the next great. I don't think he views it that way. And I think because that's now his mindset, it's almost made him better, because he's more free. He's not as like he's not as uptight, he's not as tense. Like, his mood, because he said before, when his confidence is right, he's very hard to stop. When his confidence is low, then he puts in awful performances. This looked to me like a performance where he was going through the motions, but with an idea that he was about to do something. And as we saw in the 6th round, that's what he done. Now, the one thing I also like what he did as opposed to what Guido did, because yeah, Guido was very busy. He was, but Guido could not help but throw from outside of distance. So he was basically falling into his shots. Now, if Rice was maybe 20 pounds lighter, he probably would have been countering those all day, and maybe even doubling impact and having Guido run onto something horrible, because his feet were never in range to throw the shots that he was trying to throw. So that's one thing that obviously he's got to work on moving forward. But truth be told, I've never really been a big fan of Guido Vianello. From all the fights I've seen, he seems very, very raw, which is weird for someone who's like okay, I know he's only Italy, but he's an Olympian. You would expect him to be a bit more refined than he is. Very raw, sort of very rushed, very basic. No, like I said, no actual foot placement, no idea of distance control, no idea of distance. A lot of it just seems like someone like that. I think Johnny just has a field day with, which is why I don't think he was putting in the greatest performance. Also, he came in on 3 weeks notice. Now, I know he's been in the gym working, but we don't know if he was working towards like fighting this time. So maybe that's another reason he was just in there languid, like, let me get through to the last rounds, because I don't want to burn through the reserves before it gets to that period, because I might need that time moving forward. But I ultimately, look, it was I'm going to get to the other piece of footage which does actually show the TKO issue that was there, and the technical decision. Again, I've checked it and it's all fine, but I just want to address this comment from Andrew, Cohen, thank you very much for joining. Said, fellas, please try not to post the wrong type of footage. I was really enjoying last week's post until it disappeared. Now, could you just, Andrew, in the comments, just tell us which video you're referring to? Because if it was the Chocolatito one, we kind of know what's gone on there. Like, basically, we have to stay away from the zone footage. Like, their algorithm is horrid. You can't get away with anything. But the stuff that's on this show for today is fine. I've checked it against other channels and we're good. But yeah, just so the people who didn't see it, there's a highlights video from ESPN and Top Rank for this fight. So I'm just going to play that so that you can kind of see what was about to happen with the controversial 7th round stoppage. It's about 4 minutes, so after that we'll end things there.
Got to look good against. Woo, send him back. Got nothing to lose, everything to gain. He's not trying to win rounds. He just wades around.
He's cut now.
Federico Cantazone is handling the cuts, and it is a bad gash. As bad of a spot as you can have a cut in this business. Directly above the eye, dripping blood into it.
Here we see a jab right there. And a right hand that landed just right on the spot. Just right on the spot, right on that eye that's been previously cut. We talk about blinding an opponent right there. That's exactly what it did. And Vianello stood right there in the range of the right hand of Johnny Rice, and that's what caused all the trouble.
So if this fight is stopped due to that cut, it is TKO victory for Johnny Rice and the first loss suffered for Guido Vianello. And now they're going to bring the ringside position up. And if Dr. Afrano Reed stops this fight, it is a TKO victory for Rice. Look at that gash.
Score the round. Score the round. Score the round.
I don't know why Benji Esteves is saying score the round.
He can't continue, so we're going to the scorecard.
Esteves is claiming this a clash of heads.
That's why I was trying to get clarity.
No.
Yeah, it was an accidental headbutt.
And you just heard Rice said, I hit that fill in the blank with a right hand.
We'll go to replay.
Now all of a sudden, the commission here with the United Nations is saying, let's go look at a replay. Here, bring him down here, Carlos, and if all of a sudden they want to ad-lib and watch replay, let's do whatever it takes to make.
Just turn it around. I want to see the
Well,
replay.
I can't, Benji, so come on down here for a second, Benji. Benji, come on down here for a second. Guys, I'm going to put Benji on the spare headset here. Okay, go ahead. Show him the replay, guys. Here's what happened in the 6th round. We'll show you this. There's no cut at this moment. Here comes the right hand. So right now, Benji Esteves, the veteran referee, is seeing the moment in the 6th round where the right hand lands flush from Rice. There was no cut previous to that. He wants you to keep rolling it here so he can see. And right there, there's the cut that begins right there, as you see on the cheek, and then continues on.
Punch then. We'll do the punch then. He wins by knockout. Okay.
Bill Rossi, the chief inspector for the United Nations, made the call here, as well as his colleagues, to say, hey, listen, here's what we saw. You want to go look at replay, and on the spot, the folks from the United Indian Nation who run the commission here change things.
Good for them. The replay shows it was a punch, so he's going to be the winner by TKO. It was a punch, so he's going to be the winner by TKO.
Listen, at the end of the day, common sense just prevails.
Replay from ESPN. It was a punch, so you're the winner by TKO.
Johnny Rice just found out that he just got the win.
So yeah, guys, it's like I say, there's a time when VAR was used correctly. You won't often see that in boxing, especially because a lot of fights don't end, I guess, in that particular manner. But maybe there should always be a ruling that when you do have a technical decision, or a fight that stopped due to an injury, always have a monitor on standby to look back at, just to make sure that the call is correct. Outside of that, I mean, look, points, scoring through rounds and knockouts and everything different. What's up?
Sorry, I can still hear the background of the fight.
It's just you that can hear that. No one else can.
You can't hear it.
Oh,
Okay. If anyone can hear the background of the fight still going on, no, it's stopped now. It's stopped now. It's fine.
are you
I
sure
don't
you
know
have?
what happened there. If anyone else heard that background while Base was talking, let me know. But I could hear it.
Something on like replay, or maybe like on the
No,
YouTube?
it just carried on, because I actually heard the last bit where the winner. But Fight Fan TV said he couldn't hear it, so it must be just me.
Oh, all right, fair enough. But
It's
yeah,
a weird one. Weird one.
it only happens to you, but we'll rock with it. But okay, listen, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I guess we haven't really got much else to necessarily speak about this week. There was nothing else on. There was the Misfits stuff. I will say, just as my ending segue, it was a highly entertaining show. I actually watched it on Monday. It was very entertaining, just as a spectacle, and there were some very good fights on there. Shout out to Salt Puppy and shout out to Idris Virgo.
Do you know what the funny thing is? This is the first time it's ever happened. I actually watched Salt Puppy, Idris Virgo, and KSI fight. I can't believe it. For the first time ever, I'm like, wow.
You like that Southpaw devastation.
And you know what? I went into school the next day and I started talking, and the kids are like mad on Salt Puppy because they recognize, like, you know what? Salt Puppy is just like, he's a fighter, man. He's a born fighter.
He's cold. I mean, Slim is quite entertaining. Obviously, Idris is a real fighter, so he showed his levels. But there was some highly entertaining fights. Even Elle Brooke, I thought she, for the limited ability she's got, she trains with Ebony Bridges and Mark Tibbs and that. I thought she was pretty decent. So. But yeah,
she was fighting some lanky girl, wasn't she? I didn't see the fight, so I can't say. But I saw the weigh, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
she's gonna be punching up into the clouds.
Her name was Katie Ordaway, but she's another influencer. But she gave up her height in the fight basically, and made it easy for Elle. Before we go, I just need to address this. So Jam Down, what happened to pulling up on someone about your Franklin prediction? Well, look, there was no Monday Night Smoke, all right? So everyone, let's hold that one down, because they don't really watch the show, in it. So when next week comes now and Monday Night Smoke is back in full effect, I will be on Smoke. So we can look forward to that. So yeah, let's Hot Pies, Misfits, sake, fair enough. I mean, look, we don't cover it, but we just addressed it as there was nothing else. Fight Fan, the women's fight was actually very entertaining. That it was, for the 1 round it lasted. Andrew Cohen, is that the Rikishi lookalike? Yes, it's the guy who's a bit on the chubby side, but the skills pay the bills, and he's definitely got the skills. And Danny Fight Fan Last says the tall girl looked good on the pads, but in there, Elle came in bulldog style like Ebony and got the job done. Yes, she lost all form, because on the pad she looked like she could crack, and she actually had some good technique. But boy, when those punches just started coming out like Rock'em Sock'em Robot style, she didn't know what to do. It was her first ever fight, I think. So, Jam Down, I'm here instigating. Don't worry, Jam Down, it's gonna happen. Like, I'll put the footage out there. I've kept it, I put it up specifically for that purpose. And G Train, evening to you, but we are finishing up for the evening. Unless, are you trying to put some? Okay, Tony's trying to put something in the chat. So while he does that, I'm just gonna finish off talking to. Okay, yeah, G Chain, yeah. Smash the like button, please. Everyone, if you're in here, please smash the like button. And we're gonna unmute Tony.
So, breaking news: Ring Magazine have just announced their 2022 awards. They are as follows, as you can see. Fighter of the Year was Dimitri Bivol. Fight of the Year was Wood versus Conlon. Knockout of the Year was Wood versus Conlon. Trainer of the year, Bob Santos. Upset of the year, Jai Opatai versus Myris Bredis. Round of the year, Fundora Lubin, round 7. Event of the year, Taylor versus Serrano. And prospect of the year, Keyshawn Davis. Very biased set of decisions there, but hey, the Ring magazine has to be lauded. They do have a huge and massive history of their awards. You know, by and large, most people will see the Ring magazine awards as the universal awards of boxing. So we can disagree with some of these decisions as we see fit, but as I said, in the annals of history, you know, I know that 1987's Fight of the Year was Sugar Ray Leonard defeating Marvin Hagler. Ring magazine had it as that, and I don't really know who else didn't have it as that, but I know that was Ring magazine Fight of the Year. Ring magazine Fight of the Year includes Ward Gatti trilogy, includes Barrera against El Terremosa. You know, so the Ring magazine is universally seen as the universal hierarchy of awards.
Hold
So
on. When you say bias, just bias to who and how?
well, when we look at this list, I mean, to me, event of the year, Taylor Serrano, great fight. Great that 2 women sold out the big room at Madison Square Garden. But let's not forget, UK had an all-woman card with 2 unified belts on the line in the same arena, packed out. How does that not win event of the year?
Well, are you forgetting that on that event there was 2 undisputed fights?
But were they as big as what we saw here in the UK on that?
Well,
UK.
One of them was probably bigger than both of those other fights technically, and then the other one was the fight just before the co-main. It was Franchon Cruz Dizerne against Aline Cederuz, and that fight was from an entertainment standpoint was a better fight than Baumgardner and Mayer.
Yeah.
From an entertainment standpoint. So when you look at the overall event and not just maybe the history making moment of it, and that part, that event probably was better overall.
Yeah,
and a lot more. And also in that event, just to say they weren't giving out free tickets up until an hour before the main event. I'm just saying there was things happening. So
yeah,
but I agree.
Fundora Lubin round 7.
Can someone tell me who Bob Santos is? I don't know. No, I'm being serious. I don't know a lot of trainers like that. So who?
Yeah. No, it's a fair shout.
No, but I want to know. Can someone tell me who Bob Santos is? Like, please. I literally don't know who he is or who he trains. If someone could tell me someone that he trains, maybe that will. Remember, I'm the hardcore casual. I'm still a casual. Like,
so he trains David Morrell.
Oh, so it's the Yabosanuli fight. Okay. Maybe. All right. Well, I need to see who else he's maybe in there with, but I don't think I can agree with that one. Upset, yeah. I mean, Opatai, that was an upset. No one really expected him to win. Fundora,
was that really the biggest upset though of the year? Come on.
Because if you look at, let's not forget, Dimitri Bivol and Canelo was only an upset to people who don't really know boxing. No one. If you look at Opatai's levels of opponents prior, no one really was expecting him to beat the best cruiserweight in the world, even on his home turf. And he had to go through hell to end up eking out that victory at the end. So I feel like in terms of someone you just didn't really give much of a hope to, it was more him than it was Bivol or anyone else. That round of the year, that round 7 Fundora Lubin, I was watching that fight the other day. That was a great. But then I could maybe say round 5 for Taylor Serrano, or round 4. Was it round 3 from Marshall, from Shields and Marshall? Or
Yeah.
yeah, like there was. I mean, look, there was good rounds all over. The round one, no, sorry, round two from Wood Conlon was an amazing round. So yeah, that's also, I guess, you know.
Yeah, there's a load of very good rounds in there. But yeah, that event one seems a little bit.
Well, fair enough. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so Danny and Hot Pies, or Danny said he trained Hector Garcia. So okay, so obviously he got a world champion in there, and he also trained Alberto Puello, who's also world champion at 140. So okay, maybe, but I don't know if I could still have him over Derek James just from what I've seen, and what he was able to do with some of his fighters. But you know what? It's cool. It's fine. That's their opinion, and yeah, I can live with it.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen my awards, so you guys know exactly who I think won everything. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But cool. You got anything else?
That's it, my brother. That is the last bit of action that I was able to, as I said, that's like breaking news, obviously something that you know, the boxing followers will be able to chew over. And
Hold on, sorry, 1 second. Lucan Bradus, the best cruiserweight. That's conjecture. At the time, no, it was not conjecture. He was the Ring Magazine #1 heavy cruiserweight, and he was #1 in every other metric plus the IBF. So no, it wasn't conjecture. It was fact. No one believed that Jay Opetaia was really going to win that fight. They didn't think he'd had enough previous experience and been in there with the right level of opponents. But he just clearly was a lot more talented than we thought. And he had that Samoan and that Maui blood in him to keep going through the gears when he had the double jaw break. Because most people would have folded after that. He didn't. He stuck in there. So respect where respect is due. Anyway.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our action. We bang on nearly an hour. It's been a pleasure as always to be with you this evening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Hit that like button. Let me put our ticker tapes in before we leave. If you guys haven't already done so, please follow Base on his YouTube, Instagram, Twitter accounts. They're in the ticker tape down below.
Now to Tony's.
And then myself also on the same platforms. I've had a recent change to my Instagram, which is now Pugilistic-Boy as opposed to Pugilist-Boy. And you can find me on all the other platforms as Pugilist-Boy. But thank you very much, guys. And we will leave it there. Bless up, Hot Pies. Thank you very much, Andrew Cohen.
Guy just made a brief special appearance. So thank you, Bruce. And yes, we will chat to you all later. So from us, until next week, peace.
Salute.